Hey, what's up? I'm Kirk of Effectatron, and today I've got a tutorial for you where we're gonna create some really cool, abstract, colorful, looping animations that look really cool as stills as well, but it's just kind of this really cool trick with refraction and low IOR and just using color gradients and stuff. So it's super simple to set up, incredibly easy to change, completely different looks. So I'm gonna go ahead and show you this. It's really inspired by the guy that does a lot of these pictures here, or a girl, I think it's a guy. So sorry, whatever they are. Roman Brodsky, be sure to check them out on Instagram. They have some really beautiful things. I reached out to them and talked about just kind of how they created these looks and stuff, and they were pretty helpful. You know, explained as much as they could over Instagram, but big shout out to them. Be sure to check out their work. It's really pretty, but it's just super simple, satisfying to look at. Just these really nice, bright, colorful animations that just kind of have this nice little vibe to them. It's really cool. So be sure to check those out. So let's go ahead and talk about just creating this really quick inside of Cinema 4D. And it's pretty easy to do. We're going to use Redshift as well. So let's get started. So when I click new scene, you can see it's already in Redshift. So be sure that if you are using Redshift, create your scene, set up all your render settings and everything, get all your scenes set up how you want it, and then go up here to Window, Customization, and then save as startup layout and save as default scene. That way, whenever you do create and work, you don't have to switch it over to Redshift every single time because that's really frustrating. So get it set up how you want it, save it, and then you're good to go. And you will have to do it every time Cinema 4D updates to a new version. So there's that, but that's fine. All right, let's get started. Super simple setup. Literally all we need pretty much is a dome light and then an area light for some highlights. And then we're gonna use a shape, and really we're gonna use whatever we want. So we can go ahead and just create a cube. And the cool thing about these obviously is they're abstract. So, you know, you don't have to follow along exactly, make your own shape. I encourage you to, and be sure to share that as well. So let's go ahead and just add a bunch of segments to this, 200, 200, 200. And the reason we're doing that is because we're going to use a modifier to displace this. And so the more segments you have, the more segments you need. So this way we'll be able to warp in stuff without getting a whole bunch of jagged edges and stuff like that. We're not going to fillet it. Sometimes the harsh edges look kind of nice with this, but we can come back and do that later. But let's go ahead and just add some modifiers to this. Firstly, let's go ahead and just increase the size of this. Let's just take the Z and crank that up to like 1,000. And again, all rough numbers, do whatever you want. So we're going to go ahead and add a bend modifier. So if you hold shift and then click this right here, it's just going to go ahead and put that bend modifier inside of that as a child of your cube, which all these purple things, you want them to be children. You don't want them to be the parents. So that means it's inside of it. And so first thing you want to do is you want to hit fit to parent. It's going to make sure that that is the right size. And we can go ahead and start messing with the length here. And I never know which way it's going to bend. We don't really want it to bend that way. We probably want it to bend on the X. Nothing changes. You got to make sure you hit fit to parent again. Still not right. Change it to the Z. There we go. That's what we want. So every time you reset it, you got to hit fit to parent. Otherwise, the actually won't apply these changes. So we just want a nice little curve to this. So we're going to just stretch that out a bit like that, maybe like a C kind of shape. And we're just going to start stacking modifiers on here and really get some cool looks. And we could bend it again. We could just hit hold control and drag it down. Fit to parent one more time. And what we're going to do is we're going to change it to X and rotate it a different way. Like that. So we get just kind of these weird curls and cubes. So if you want to change the size of this, whatever, because you don't like the way it's looking, you can literally just do it, you know, inside of here with these settings. But it will be oriented on your original shape. So the way it works is it goes in order. So if you want it to bend one way first and then bend the other, you're going to want to make sure you do it that way. This might provide some cool looks, actually. Let's go ahead and let's try that. No. But yeah, anyway, this is fine. We'll just do this weird shape. We can try that later. That's the fun thing with abstract. You just do whatever you want. All right. So now we can just do what's called a twist. So we're hold shift and click and hold and then let go while we're holding shift. And that's going to put our twist in there. We want our twist to be last, so we want to make sure that's on the bottom. Again, fit to parent. And you're going to see it doesn't like stretch to the new shape. It's always going to be on the default shape, which is kind of confusing and disorienting, but it's fine. We're going to twist it, and we don't want it to twist that way. We want it to twist probably on the X. Still not right. Twist on the Z. There we go. So we want it to twist on the Z this way. And you can see how that's twisting our shape, and it just these really weird shapes. We're going to go ahead and take off the second bend, yeah? take off that bend, and let's just leave it at this. I think this looks like a pretty cool abstract shape. I like that. All right, so we have this twist on here. We can adjust that, but I think that looks pretty cool. And you can see why we needed a lot of geometry, because we're really distorting our shape here. So lastly, for the last thing we do, this is going to make it loop. This is the cool thing, is we're going to go in here and we're going to add what is called the wind deformer. And wind is pretty awesome, because wind, if we just hit play when we add the wind, automatically just starts adding some distortion and animation to this. And it's being kind of weird right now, but we're going to fix that. We're going to put that at the end. That way it's applied to the whole thing. You can see how it's getting kind of wonky. But now we have this really nice, cool, subtle... We really have this nice, cool, subtle, wonky, wavy bit. But it's not really looping, obviously. We see we get to the end and it jumps back. So we got to fix that. So how to fix that? Well, it's a little funky. It's kind of a combination of things, but really frequency is going to be the value you're going to want to change, as well as just your timeline and how many frames you have in your scene. It always takes a little trial and error to figure this out, but what I've found that works is if we come down here and we multiply this by 2, so we're going to say times 2. You can just do the math straight into the number thing there if you didn't know that. And then our frequency, we're going to set it to 5. So we've got 6 seconds and our frequency of 5, and when we hit play, we're going to see if this loops. It does. So I guess you could do the math, divide that by 2, which is what I would think you could do. Say it to 72 and set this to 2.5. But it doesn't work like that. So yeah, I don't know. Good, it doesn't make a lot of sense to me. I'm sure that someone out there understands the frequency, and if you do, can you explain it in the comments below so that I can understand what this is, so I can avoid this. Let's go ahead and say times 2 and frequency of 5. And now we're not looping. So we want to make sure we turn our turbulence down to 0. And that's going to get our loop, because the turbulence was disturbing our loop. So what we can do is we have it set to flag mode, which is going to make it wobble, but kind of keep our end, try to keep our ends kind of similar. But if we turn flag mode off, it's just going to apply it throughout the whole shape a little more evenly, which kind of creates this nice look. So let's say we like this, but we want it to be slower. Well, then we can just double the frame rate here, so times 2 again, and then cut this in half. So we should get a nice wobble loop. So double the frequency, double the frame rate, cut the frequency in half. It kind of works both ways. You have to do both things. Hope that makes sense. So now we have this really nice, soft, just organic movement loop. And all we want to do is we just want to zoom in on like a tight part of this, and we're going to create our material and create the, so now we understand how to create these cool abstract shapes. Do whatever you want, put whatever modifiers you want on there. But you can, create some different twists and bends. But this is kind of a nice, pleasing shape. If we come in here and look at that, we can kind of frame things up like that. Things are going to look, kind of cool and nice. It's very satisfying. So let's go ahead and talk about creating our camera real quick. So we'll go to Redshift camera. Actually, we don't even need to do it up there. We can do it down here now. It works now. We can go down here to the camera, click and hold, and you can choose standard camera now. And it brings it in with the tag and everything. How about that? Good job, Redshift. Cool update. All right, so we've got that in there now. So we can go ahead and toggle that on or whatever. But let's go ahead and create our material and our lighting. So always like to create the lighting first before the material, because obviously the material is going to be very dependent on the lighting. So to do the lighting for this, it's super simple. Super simple. I don't know why I said it like that, but it's super easy. We're going to go ahead and go to Dome Light. And all we need to do is add in a texture. Now for the texture, there's all kinds of cool things you can do. But if you've ever watched my tutorial on color swatches and stuff, be sure to check that out, because I used this website before. It is called coolers.co, and it is super helpful. It's not sponsored or anything. It's just really cool. You can create these really cool color palettes, but not only can you create color palettes on there, you can now actually create color gradients. So you can just go ahead and explore gradients that already exist. You can create your own gradient from colors. But let's go ahead and say, let's just pick a gradient. So we'll say, we'll pick one we like. We like this purple and orange one. We're going to hit these 3 little dots. We're going to say, download as image. And we're going to go ahead and choose where we want to save this. Yep, so we can save that gradient. And let's go ahead, just for the sake of example, to see what it looks like if we don't use the gradient and we just use the color palettes here. So let's go ahead and choose a color palette here that we like. Something kind of fun. let's do this one here. This has a lot of cool, nice colors. So we're gonna go ahead and say export palette. And what we wanna do is we wanna say image. And we wanna make sure we have the color space set to none. That way it doesn't put any words on there. And we're gonna title this, tut image. And we're gonna make sure we have some random letters capitalized. Tut image, there we go. Okay, so now that we have that, we can literally just drag and drop these downloads in there. So we're just gonna grab tut gradient and click and drag that right into the texture there. And you can see that's changed to our background. And when we hit render on this, you're gonna see that, this isn't it, obviously. But you can see we already have that color coming in and we have that line. So we're getting that lighting and those colors affecting our shape here, but really the key to this is gonna be this nice material that we're gonna put on here. So we're gonna go ahead and create that material, and this is gonna come together like that. So we're gonna go to create, Redshift Material, standard material. You don't have to use standard, you can use RS material if you want. So you don't have presets and stuff within the standard material, but it's gonna be really easy to create. Color, doesn't matter, we're just gonna take it down to 0, and we're gonna focus on the transmission here. Set that transmission weight all the way up to 1. And then for the IOR of the reflection here, we're gonna take our roughness, we're gonna leave it at 0.2, and we're gonna take the IOR below 1. So we're gonna say like 0.8, and you can go super low with it, play around with it. It gets a lot of different looks, but right now we're gonna go with 0.8, and we're gonna see what this looks like. We'll throw this on our cube, and we'll go ahead and hit render on this. And already you can see it's pretty cool looking, but it's kind of bland and it's not that great. So let's go ahead and mess with that IOR even more. And we want it to be that kind of nice, silky, smooth color. So we're coming here and we're gonna lower that roughness down to almost no roughness, like 0.1 maybe. And we're gonna take that IOR down to like 0.08. We're gonna go real funky low with it. And you can see that starts adding this weird sheen on this. So we can start bringing that up. And you can really just start playing with that until you get this nice look that you want. See, we're getting there, so we're staying low. Yeah, that looks nice. And then we can start playing with the roughness. So too much roughness, no roughness at all. We're gonna get these weird kind of almost too intense of reflections. So you want a little bit of roughness to blur that out. Let's go ahead and just say 1.175. Yep, that looks nice. And our IOR, let's bring that down to like 0.6. Yep. So what's cool is like now it's going to loop. Obviously, as we play through this, we're going to get these really nice, cool reflections and stuff. And everything's going to look really pretty. And if you want, you can come in here to your dome light. And you can turn off this background if you want, and then you can just put this on whatever color you want with an alpha. Yeah, that's basically it. But the cool thing is, let's go ahead and just take it off the gradient. And let's go ahead and just bring in that other one we created, which would be, I don't think I added the right thing. Yeah, I did. Okay. One thing that I'm noticing is this straight line back here, and that's because our gradient is wrapping around our shape and meeting at the back end, and we actually don't want that. So we're just gonna take our dome light here, and we're gonna hit R, and we're just gonna rotate it around so that that's not back there. And here we go. So you can rotate it around until we get like a different look here. We can come in here to our cube because we did it non-destructively. We can add a fillet to this if we want and see if that looks any nicer. And it does look pretty nice. We're gonna make it smaller. Yeah, so we get that nice highlight on that edge there. Yeah, that's pretty much it. We're gonna go ahead and show you what the difference is between the different dome lights and how easy it is to just change the entire look of this. We're gonna go in here and choose that one we had that was the color palette. You can see it comes in with this white bar, and if you want to go into Photoshop and just crop that out real quick, totally can. For the sake of this tutorial, I'm not going to. But you can see instantly, boom, completely changes the vibe. You still have a really nice piece. So let's go ahead and just play around with this camera and some depth of field settings and stuff and really create just some nice looks here. So we're going to kind of zoom in here and get kind of an abstract vibe going on like so. And we're going to go ahead and open up our IPR, hit play. Go into our Redshift camera tag, go to bokeh, override, and then enable. change it from focus and COC radius down to just focus distance, because that's like how I like to do it. Click to focus. Let's click on this little edge right in front of us. We can zoom out just a bit and make this a little bit wider of an angle. So let's go ahead and change it to like a 24. There we go. We want to see some more of that fall off back there. Yep, and we're going to click right here. So we're on this angle, but our COC is like, this is too blurry and too out of focus. We definitely want to see some of these colors changing and stuff a little clearer. So we're going to go to our bokeh and we're going to lower the COC radius to like 0.25. As we want some blur, but we don't need it to blur off that much. But yeah, there you go. Now you have this nice looping animation. Super easy, super satisfying colors. And you can go in and just save all these different colors and stuff and mess with the IOR and create all these really cool, unique looks. So it's as easy as just changing the dome light. Like, that's what's so cool about this. It's like, oh, you want to change the vibe completely, purple and pink to white. Boom. You have a whole nother thing. And then because you've made an abstract shape, you know, just create a new camera and just find like a different spot on it, or even make a new shape, or just find like a whole nother spot that you can look at. Like, you know, that's pretty cool looking. It's just pretty. Like, that looks like a nice background. And if you ever notice these little segments like this, it's because we don't have enough segments in our shape. So we can just come in here, again, non-destructive. Let's go ahead and crank up our segments. So this is going to be a little smoother because we're putting so many modifiers on it. And now we have this nice smooth shape. So this is really pretty. When we hit play on this animation, let's go ahead and skip through. Let's see how much stays in focus. Oh yeah. So yeah, we're going to get all kinds of cool stuff going on here. And obviously you can turn off depth of field and stuff if you don't want it. But these are cool looking for sure. Let's focus on that right there. Yeah. Pretty cool. So yeah, there you go. You can completely change it. Coolers.co. I'll link to that below. But you can just create some really beautiful, quick animations. And you know, obviously, it's just going to loop because we've got that frequency set out. Again, the wind, a little funky to set up with initially. But be sure to check flag off, try it with on and off, make sure your turbulence is down, and play with the time, length, and the frequency as well to get that setting just right. But I'm pretty happy with the way that this is looking. You can always just come in and mess with it and try to get, you know, different looks and try different shapes. You can just come in and replace your shape altogether. You can say instead of a cube, you're just going to copy all these modifiers and throw them on a sphere and see if that looks different, or a torus is a fun one. So you really can just come in and just instantly create different looks. We're going to hold shift, and say control, click, drag, and we'll put all of those on another thing. Turn this off, put this on that. And we obviously need way more segments. 256, 256. There we go. And already we have just a completely different scene. And all we've done is change the shape. And what we could do is add another area light in for like a backlight or something if we wanted to kind of bring in some extra light. It's pretty easy. Just do like a behind light. We'll hit W to move it in world space. We'll move it up. There we go. And we can change the shape, the color of that to be kind of complementary. We could do like a nice highlight blue. You know, we can make it bigger, whatever. But yeah, play around with that. You can have that nice blue highlight come in. So yeah, now we've created a completely different scene within like 5 seconds because we just changed the shape. And we can always, you know, turn that back off, go back to our cube, turn that back on, and we've just added that backlight. And there we go. We have a completely different scene because we changed the camera angle again and added that light. And so we just have these really cool abstract shapes. You can create like 10 different renders from one scene. Super nice, satisfying loops. And they're all going to loop. So very cool, very satisfying to look at. I'm going to go ahead and render this one out. And if you liked any of this tutorial, found it helpful, and you want more content, be sure to subscribe and ring that bell for the notifications of new stuff. And it means a lot if you really want to support the channel. Think about hitting that join button. It means a lot to me. But basically, there's going to be a lot of stuff coming out in the future here. There's a lot of new updates and stuff. We're going to cover that. I've got a lot of Skillshare courses coming out. Be sure to, if you want to learn more about Redshift and you're starting off, the Redshift Ultimate Masterclass that is released on CG shortcuts that I created is available. It's got over, I think 80% of it is got Redshift 3.5. A lot of the material thing has the whole 3.5 standard material set up in it as well. We're going to go over render settings, lighting, everything. But you can just see we have this really pretty scene. Again, super easy to create. I love this one. I've like played around and made so many things. And all I'm doing is just literally downloading templates of colors that already exist. And I'm saying, okay, let's see what that one looks like. And I bring it in. I'm like, oh, it's pretty. So very cool, very satisfying to just create completely different vibes and looks with just a few things. So again, I'm just going to keep playing with this because I don't know when to stop. And let's go ahead and just bring that one in. Click and drag. Voila. Completely different vibe. Very cool. So hopefully that was helpful. And again, you can play with the IOR. You can bring in multiple shapes. You can do stuff like you could bring in a shape over top and put some frost on it and create some stuff there. But the really colorful ones are really the real fun ones. Let's go ahead and just bring in one that's like very bright and colorful. You can also do, you don't have to do gradients or gradient maps. You can do like abstract colors if you just look stuff up. Like let's say we can just look up, I grabbed a few, I just Googled like gradient, or you could even do like a sky map or something like that if you want to. And that's going to create some really cool looks. So we can bring in this night sky star map here. And that's going to create a really pretty look. And we can turn off the background on that, or we could bring in a backplate of that same image. And we're going to go ahead and do that. And you're probably going to get a really nice looking image here. Sky map, or bring in whatever background you want. But having it match, you know, that looks pretty nice. It's pretty cool. Anywho, very fun, very cool way to just create all kinds of different colors and looks. You also can like take your gradients into Photoshop and blur the colors and stuff. Let's go ahead and just grab one of these ones I downloaded. This is just downloaded a gradient map from something, and it just brings it in, and you have this like really pretty, beautiful texture. And the cool thing is, if you don't mind just animating, if you don't want to just animate the loop here, you can also go in here to your dome light and animate rotating that around and just get completely different looks as well. So, I mean, it's just the possibilities are endless with this. It's very, very cool. All right, cool. Thank you guys so much for watching. I know I drag on a lot, but man, these are fun. Okay, see you all next time. Later.